And I talk fast as well, because like I said, I am also from New York. So, okay, let me go down. Last time I did this, I did it in person. And one of the other things I'm about to do, actually, I've been in talks for a couple of months, is to launch a hard money company that is nationwide. So that's coming hopefully in the next 30 days. Okay. So I've got some stats for you that I think it's important for us to, as real estate agents, to understand. Real estate agents tend to struggle. So according to US News, I repulled the stats last night. In 2020, real estate agents earned a median salary of $48,930, right? Just under 50,000. 25% made less than 33 grand. 25% made over 75 grand. And in Georgia, I'm based out of Metro Atlanta, the median was 50,000 in 2020.
Hey, Lorraine, can you put your presentation into presentation mode?
Hang on, let me.
It's under slideshow.
I've never done this, so there you go. Present online. I guess this is it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe try.
I don't know. Connect.
I'll stop your screen and then reshare again then.
All right, hang on.
So that way we can see, because it's a little small the way you have it.
Sorry, I'm trying to see if I can. Hang on. Custom slideshows. A custom slideshow.
It's under slideshow and then under present.
Present. It says present online. Start slideshow. No.
Yeah, that's it.
There we go. There we go. Okay, perfect.
Okay, wait. So now stop your screen share.
Hang on.
And then you'll have to reshare because Zoom doesn't let you switch between screens.
All right. So
here,
let me
stop your screen share now. Now reshare. Pick the right screen.
There we go. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Always learning.
Now you're looking good. Perfect.
All right. Always learning. So now I need to figure out how do I switch the slides because I have no idea.
It's in the bottom left of your slide. Go all the way down on the bottom left corner. See? You see those little arrows?
Wait.
Oh, good. I saw it.
Sorry.
Put your
screen sharing stop. Shared window is closed. No, I didn't close the shared window. Hang on. Why? Technology is not my forte. This is why I deal with houses. Okay, let's try this again. I still think it's not going to give me the presentation mode. Is that better, any?
Well, no, that's like from the beginning. Go from the beginning on the top left.
Here we go.
Oh well, if anything, we'll just not do it if you can't figure it out. There it goes.
Okay, I just don't know how to change my pages because there's nothing underneath of me to go. There we go. Okay.
You got it?
So, got it. Perfect. Okay, sorry about that. So just to share something, so ZipRecruiter stated that as of September 2020, the national average investor salary is $123,000. That's almost 3 times what the average agent earns. In Atlanta, it's 111. It's down from 2019, which was 124,000, and that's probably because it's been challenging to find deals in Atlanta. So I like to share this because I think it's interesting to see who else invests in real estate. You know, we've got the Warren Buffett and the Bill Gates, but Ellen DeGeneres and her wife, Portia de Rossi, are 2 of the biggest players in real estate with multiple real estate holdings. Back in 2019, they sold the Brody house for a $15 million profit. Then you have Super Bowl champ Emmitt Smith. When his career ended, he also went into real estate and founded E.F. Smith Legacy, which is a real estate development and asset management firm. And then you have Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, whose real estate holdings span from LA to Turkey. So it's like, guys, we're in this, we do it every day. What are you waiting for? So I was speaking now for the 2nd time, actually 4th time I've spoken at Think Realty and was on a great panel last September. And again, I was with a number of agents who all came from corporate America. We all have corporate backgrounds, and they all saw that real estate is the way to build wealth. None of them are in corporate America anymore. They're all investing in real estate full time. And, you know, I thought that was pretty interesting. So why not use what you already know to invest in yourself, right? We already have a majority of the tools as real estate agents. We have access to the MLS. We know how to run comps. You know, if you've been doing this for a while, you've been to inspections, you know what's a big deal, what's not a big deal. And, you know, there's been a lot of hoopla in the last couple of weeks. I don't know if any of you have noticed or have been in any of the Facebook groups where Zillow basically wiped out all of our past sales history. So if I go to Zillow right now, it showed that I sold one house in 2020, which is not true. In Georgia, they're also now a broker. So we're getting more and more competition. And there's a lot of people jumping into the real estate arena. And I do think that at some point in time, things will change. There's also the big NAR cooperative collaboration, whatever they called it. There was the lawsuit where, you know, now you have to have your listings in the MLS as I think in 24 hours or 48 hours. You can't have pocket listings anymore. And it's like everyone's trying to take a piece of the pie. So let's get out there and pivot and shift. And yes, still do real estate sales. That's the majority of my business, is working with clients, what I call retail clients. And then I have my investor clients, but we need to take a piece of that pie. We need to learn to be the investors. There are a lot of boot camps, a lot of workshops that teach agents how to work with investors, but no one's telling them, hey, you know, this is something you need to do. So as I said, what do you already know, right? You know how to run a CMA. You know what buyers are looking for. So if you're looking to fix and flip, and that's the majority of what I've done, you know what colors are in, what do buyers look, what kind of countertops do they want, what kind of floor plans do they want. You already have that knowledge, right? You know how you know how to identify up and coming areas. I mean, if I will generally, before I invest in an area, and maybe I overanalyze a bit, but I don't get into analysis paralysis, is if I think an area is up and coming, I track the trends back 6 months. I go through the MLS. I go through the tax records. Okay, this sold for this. It's a renovation. It sold for X. I go into the tax records. What do they pay for it? I check the mortgage amount, right? Did they borrow hard money? How much did they borrow? I mean, I really drill into everything so I can get a really good understanding of what's going on. And especially if you're in town Atlanta, you know, your comps can vary from, you know, one street to 3 blocks over. So you need to really study an area and get in your car. I mean, even now with the pandemic and everything, you can still get in your car, go drive the areas if it's an area that you don't know, and get to learn the area, right? And you know, what else do you know? Most of us as realtors, to help our clients, we know an electrician, we know a landscaper, we know an HVAC person, right? We already have a lot of the tools that we use to help our clients that we could use to help ourselves. It's about buying cash flow properties. So how do you flip the switch? As I mentioned earlier, the majority of real estate agents don't think the way investors think. It's not a negative, it's just we were never trained that way. We were taught how to show a home, how to point out the features to our clients, how to tell sellers to declutter and depersonalize their home. But that's not how an investor thinks. They could care less, right? What do you need to flip the switch and change your mindset? Some of the things you can think about and change your focus is, you know, if you've got a property that has a lower level, could that become an Airbnb unit, right? Depending on where you are and HOA requirements and all of that. If you've seen prices in an area have appreciated 15% say over the last 12 months and they're still increasing, okay, is it still trending up? Is it going to level off? If I open up the floor plan and I add square footage, can I make a profit? I have a client that found me online over the summer, and he called me on one of my listings, and I told him it wasn't a good deal. It was an investor that should have never bought the property. He was in California. He overpaid. He popped the top. and he got really stuck with contractors. He went through 4 contractors. You know, over a period of 2 years, he kept reaching out to me. So he had this property for 3 years with hard money and wound up losing it last summer. But I got this client under contract on a property that we're going to pop the top. It's in Buckhead. We're adding an entire second story. I comped it out. I told him more or less what I thought the budget would be because he's out of state. And it's kind of my niche. And we were supposed to close on Friday, but there was a title issue. We're closing Tuesday. And, you know, he'll have a great buffer. It is a high-end property. But to give you an idea, we negotiated the price to $580. He's putting in about $350, and we have a 1.3 after repair value. And he's going to be paying me to consult him through that process, since that's not something he's ever done before. The other thing to look for, right, is what's going on in the area. If it's an area you think is up and coming, is there new development? Are you starting to see more people start to fix and flip? Do you see the city built, you know, a library, right? I mean, I was investing in Decatur in 30032 before it was a thing. And I started noticing some things happening. So I was in there in the beginning. And it's just being cognizant of what it is that investors look for and look at, and just being aware, you know, of everything that's around you. Okay, so as I mentioned before, how do investors calculate their offers? Like I was saying earlier, generally investors buy at 65, 70, or 75% of the ARV, right? It's a math equation for them. It's all about the numbers. It's not emotional. Means they're looking to be all in at that price. So all in means that all costs and expenses for the project will not exceed the percentage that they set, their MAO, their maximum allowable offer. The percentage can be 65, 70, or 70%, depending on the investor and the property. Now, all costs and expenses include, which is what most real estate agents don't understand, is there's a cost to acquire the property. There's costs to sell the property. There's closing costs, holding costs, insurance, taxes, repairs, renovations, landscaping, like I said, transaction fees. There's hard money fees if they're borrowing hard money. There's transactional funding fees if they're doing transactional funding. Utilities, you have water, sewer, electric, any points, any bank fees, and draw fees if there are draw fees by the lender for the investor to pull that money out, right? Literally all the expenses that were incurred into acquire, complete, and sell the property. So I'm going to give you an example. If a home is worth $200,000 after it's renovated, the investor wants to be in, depending on their criteria, how much capital do they have? Is it their own money? Is it private money? Is it hard money? They want to be all in at $130,000 or $140,000 or $150,000, like I said, depending on the percentage that they've chosen for that property and that fits, you know, their investment criteria. So how do we work the numbers? As I said, we've got the MAO, which is the maximum price point in a real estate deal, where you can realistically expect to get a profit while minimizing your risk of losing money. If you go over your calculated maximum allowable offer, then you are more likely to lose money. While the MAO formula is designed to increase your results while minimizing risk, it's not very helpful if you don't estimate the value of your property or your repair costs accurately. So, to calculate the ARV, we work backwards to get to the offer price based on the return you're looking for. When you're rehabbing a property, the formula looks something like this. And about 70%, that's about where I'm at. I'm not comfortable going to a 75% ARV just because you never know what's going to happen, right? So you take the ARV times 0.7, 70%, right, of the ARV minus your repair and holding costs. So here's an example. If you find a house that you can put under contract for $200,000 and you know that the comps fixed up are selling for $400,000 and you're estimating that it's $70,000 to rehab the property, here's kind of what the formula looks like. And this is just basic so you have an idea, because real estate agents don't think this way. If you take $400,000 times the 0.7, right, your 70%, that gives you a price of $280,000. You have $70,000 renovation costs. You have $29,000 in holding costs. commissions when they sell the property, right? Your water, your sewer, your hard money payments, let's round it to 29,000. You deduct all of that and you come up with 181,000, right? That should be your all-in number to acquire that property. And, you know, it comes out to close to 50 cents on the dollar. And this is why real estate agents are like, you know, wait a minute, investors are lowballing me. They don't know, and they just don't understand. I had this conversation. I showed a property to an investor at an open house. The listing agent was there, and she asked me my feedback on the property. And, you know, I told her that it needed a lot of work. It was dated. It was original from the 70s. And I told her that the max I would, you know, offer on a property like that, you know, was about 50,000 less than it was listed at, and she didn't understand why. So I gave her a, you know, a mini presentation on this is why. And she said, I never thought about it. I didn't think about, you know, paying whatever the real estate commission is on the other end was 4 or 5 or 6%, you know, whatever it is that's customary in your market, or is negotiated right with that investor. And she didn't realize, and that's the beauty of why I like to teach agents, is I saw the light bulb go off. You know, she was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. And so it's, you know, it's important to just understand that. So really fast. So Stacy, hopefully there'll be a lot of questions because I'm going through this faster than I expected. Let me give you an example. This is a property that I was at earlier this morning. 3 or 4 years ago, I had someone reach out to me who knew me. She had seen me. We had a lot of friends in common. And she came to me and she says, Lorraine, I have 2 properties that I need to sell. I need to get rid of them. And I said, sure, no problem. Let me run comps for you. And I ran comps on this house and another property in Smyrna. And I said to her, I said, look, I'm happy to put the property on the market for you, but I don't think that's something you should do. Because at this point, the townhome was worth about $70,000 and she owed 90. This particular property, same thing, she owned about 92 and it was worth about 60,000. And the property in Smyrna was actually cash flowing at that point in time. And I said to her, look, I can put it on the market if you want me to. I don't think that's what you should do. You're cash flowing on that property, leave it, right? Let's wait till the market comes back up. And on this particular property that's out in Jonesboro, I said, clean it up and, you know, get it back to being a rental, because she has been paying on this house for 4 years. It's been vacant for 4 years. And she said, oh, I just don't want to deal with it. I'm busy working on my PhD. I've got a lot of things going on. It's just not something, you know, I want to deal with. And I said, okay, well, just let me know. It was too high to wholesale. The numbers just didn't work. Fast forward to January of 2020. I'm getting ready to go meet with another client, and this particular person calls me and says, hey, Lorraine, you remember those properties that I had? And I said, yeah, I sure do. She said, I'm done. I'm over it. The guy next door sold the townhome. Next door, they're semi-attached townhomes. So there's two attached. She said he put lipstick on a pig. He sold it for 120. Now she owed 90,000 and change. And I said, okay, let me repull the comps for you. I'll look at it. And I said to her, I said, he did a little more than put lipstick on a pig. I said, but, you know, we could probably put it on the market at 110, 115, right? She owed 90, at least she has some room. And I said, if that's what you want to do. And she says to me, no, I'm just kind of done. And I said, all right. She said, can you come out and look at the property? I said, sure. So I met her at the house. And the townhome, we went through it. The tenant wasn't there, and there was a lot of deferred maintenance. Now, she did take care of the big things, the roof and the HVAC. As we're walking through the house, she says to me, so what do you think? And I took my husband with me. He's pretty handy. He was walking around the outside trying to see, you know, what does it need in terms of work. And my face gives it all away. I could never play poker. And she says, I was thinking 5. And I said, I don't know. Let me talk to Rui, which is my husband. And I guess the look on my face, she goes, well, what are you thinking? And I said, well, I don't know. I was thinking maybe more like 2,500. And she's like, no, we need to go outside and talk. And I looked at her and I said, what's going on? And her response to me was, I'm done. My family's in Florida. I'm ready to just get out of Atlanta. And I said, well, you have a grandson, right? He's probably 7 or 8 at this point. And I said, I know you have your son who's in the military and you had your other son. And she looked at me and she said, how do you remember all of that? With everything that you have going on, how do you remember that conversation? Now, we had this conversation, like I said, 3-4 years prior. And she said, yeah, my grandson's turning 8 and they're in Kentucky and I'm ready to retire. And she's ex-military. I want to go to Florida and I want my tenant to be in good hands because I've had my tenant for 8 years. So we walked outside and I said, all right, Tanya, she's like, I want to pay you $5,000 to take over my property. My job out hit the floor. I had heard stories of people saying, oh, someone paid me to take over their property. I never believed it. I'll be the first one to say I've never believed it. Lots of gurus out there saying this all the time. And I was kind of shocked. And I just looked at her and said, you know, I can't do that. And she's like, yes, you can. She goes, you've helped me out throughout the years. You've always given me good advice. Yes, you can. And, you know, when it was all said and done, I told her we'd split it. I would take $2,500 to take over the property and she would pay the closing costs. So right when the pandemic started, second week of March, as my husband's losing his job, we're buying a property. We took it over subject to the existing mortgage, which she had agreed to. She was totally okay with it. I explained the whole process to her. And we slightly raised the rent on the tenant because it was cash flowing, but not a whole lot because there's 2 mortgages on it. She still owes about $89,000 at this point. And we closed on it and she was thrilled to pieces and her tenant was thrilled to pieces. And we've been blessed that she has continued to pay the rent. I now have a property that has appreciated even more in value. And it was all from a conversation of someone who had wanted to list their property. So real estate agents, please understand, putting a sign in the front yard is not always the best solution for the client. And so she came back to me, you know, earlier this year. She still has this property in Jonesboro that is still vacant, that she's still paying $800 and some odd a month on, right? And I have the numbers right here. We had this conversation last night. So I'm going to take over her mortgage. She has a first, it's $65,233, and a second at $25,406. Let's call it $91,000 to make the numbers round. Her total mortgage payment is $841. To get the property in rent-ready condition, this is not a full-blown rehab. This is rent-ready condition. We're not taking out walls. The roof is only a couple of years old. She updated the HVAC system and the hot water heater. So that's in good shape. We're looking at about 12 grand. I'm still debating on whether I'm going to paint the outside. The rental income in the area for a house in this condition, right, rent-ready condition, not a Mac Daddy renovation job, is $1,250 to $1,300 a month. The after repair value, once we put that 12 grand in, is about 120,000. So we will be positive cash flowing anywhere between $409 to $459 a month. Okay, we've had appreciation in Atlanta at over 5%. So we'll have built-in growth as well. But here's the kicker. When we sat down yesterday, she said, I'll have the old carpet removed. I'll have the trash cleaned out. We've got petrified dog poop in every room because it's been in there for 4 years. She said, I'll take care of the landscaping because I pulled this picture off of Google. And she's going to make the next 6 months of payments. Okay, think about that. It's not about the money. She doesn't care about the money. She said, I'm working on my clinicals. I just can't be bothered with this. And she's been paying the utilities on it for 4 years. Like, how crazy is that? And again, I wasn't looking for this. It's something that landed in my lap. Case study, because I think it's great to be able to relate. A few months ago, I had an agent in my office who, sent me a Facebook message, and he said, hey, Lorraine, I'm sending you a referral. And I messaged him back and I said, have you stopped selling real estate? And his response to me was, no, it's just an investor thing and I don't know what to do with it. I said, okay, no problem. This gentleman worked with his wife. I spoke with him. We spoke for a good 45 hours, and I just let people talk, right? God gave us one mouth and 2 ears. I let people talk and let them share whatever it is they would like to share with me. We spoke for, like I said, probably a good 45 minutes. He explained to me everything that was going on. He had a property in Kennesaw, great school district, really good neighborhood, great location. And he did the forbearance, right? So he's been behind on his property. He stopped paying at this point. It's probably been, a good 7 or 8 months. Went out to the house. I walked through the house, I talked to him, and the house needs a ton of work. And I said, okay, well, look, we can put it on the market as a distressed property. I said, or I can see if I can get you a cash offer. If you recall, I said earlier, I have a wholesale partner, because being a realtor and wholesaling properties is can be a little bit of a gray area. And I don't really like to go there. That's me, that's not everybody. And he said, okay, great. So we actually have a hedge fund that buys properties. I made the appointment. My partner went out there and looked at it. And I had told him, I said, look, this is easy, 50 grand, if not more, to get it to a 260 ARV. So we made him an offer. He said he owed 115,000. We made him an offer of 163, knowing that it needed about 50 or 60 to put it at 260. It wasn't quite enough for him. And I told him, if I put it on the market, because we have such low inventory and there are people just clamoring for houses and there are people that are handy, I said to him, if I put it on the market, I can probably get you 190, 195, because I've done this before with other distressed sellers. And he said, all right, let me think about it. He came back and he said, no, I don't want anybody in my house. I'm embarrassed. And I just want an offer. He said, if you can get me up to, I think it was 175. So if you can get me to 175, where I can net what I'm looking to net, and I can go find another place to move into. He said, anything above that or anything else, he said, I'm done. I'll sign the paperwork tomorrow. We went back and forth. The hedge fund agreed to come up, that they would come up to the price that we were looking to get. And we're closing in 2 weeks. Now, I didn't make a commission, but we have a wholesale fee that we've tacked on with the hedge fund, and they're aware and they know. And at the end of the day, we got someone out of a property, the hedge fund will have a rental, and we're splitting an $8,000 wholesale fee. It's not quite what would have been my 3% commission, but that's okay. Putting a sign in his yard was not the best for him either. And he has already called me and thanked me and said, you have taken weight off my shoulders. I will refer everybody and anybody that I know to you. And at the end of the day, if you're a real estate agent and you're not thinking, what's the best way for me to help someone resolve their problems, you're missing opportunities that they could have just landed in your lap. I didn't go looking for all of this. It just kind of all happened. And as long as you take the time to learn what some of these creative strategies are, the best way to truly help someone, and you're not always thinking about, oh my gosh, I need to make the commission. There's multiple ways that as an agent, you can truly help people and help yourself as well. So let me keep going here. So what do you need to get started, right? As an agent, hopefully you already have your business entity. I get paid, in my LLC, and that's for tax purposes. You should have your business bank account. You should have your power team. Like I mentioned, most of us already do. You know, even if you find a buyer and you need a traditional buyer to go into that property, you know, you've got your loan officer, and you should have your business processes and systems in place. You know, now that you've learned what you do, you know, and what you want to do with your investment business, it's important to make sure that you have your systems in place and the right support people. That's key. So let's see. Like I said, I talk fast, but let's going. You know, it's time to flip the switch as a real estate agent and help yourself, help your clients, help others. You know, if there's a deal that doesn't work for me, I pass it on to my investors and just think of, you know, what's the best way for you to, you know, help someone else out and get your, you know, your results as well. So imperfect action is better than no action. At some point, you've got to stop studying and you have to start doing, right? It's easy for us to get caught up in the I don't know enough. And I hear that a lot. I was just in a real estate group on Facebook, has 130,000 agents. And there are a lot of agents that were saying, I don't know how to get started, or I need a lot of money. And I started jumping in. And I've had a couple of gentlemen say, I hope, can men, you know, attend the summit as well? And I said, absolutely. So hopefully they're here. And now it's, you know, it's time to create the life that you've been looking for you and your family. As I said, we've been through 5 layoffs with my husband in the last 8 years, you know, nothing through any fault of his. The last one, the pandemic shut them down. They're no longer in business. So just every day, take one step that will help you propel forward, right? There are multiple ways to invest in real estate. You can fix and flip. You can do cash flow properties. You can wholesale. Like I said, just check with your broker on that one. If you're a real estate agent that's been very successful and you have a lot of money and you don't have the time, you can joint venture with someone else. You can become a private lender. You can invest in notes. I know we've had someone, or they're coming up speaking on note investing. There's tax lien investing. Pick one. Pick one, study it, learn it, and pick the one that suits your personality, right? Plus, in the end, you'll get more referrals. If you did what was right for that person, it will give you more business in your retail business as well. So if anybody has any questions, because I don't know how to pull up the chat when I'm sharing my screen, Stacy. I'm
gonna stop sharing your screen so
okay.
You can see questions too. But honestly, I mean, what you're saying is so true. I do not understand why more realtors do not learn how to either work with investors or understand what they're doing. They're missing out on so many opportunities. And you know what you said too, it's kind of like also, it's like attorneys that do real estate, anything in real estate. You know, these attorneys, they get so many deals.
Mm-hmm.
They get so many deals, you know what I'm saying? And because they're closing probate or whatever,
Yep.
and something doesn't work out and they just scoop that thing up. And it's the same thing with realtors. Like, you should be able to understand these concepts so that if something doesn't happen, you can swing in and take that deal over. And that's like Alice was talking on Friday. She leads the Arizona group. And that's what she says as a realtor. She says, if something falls apart and I'm doing that deal, she's like, I'll figure out how to close that deal.
Well, yeah, I had another one. I mean, at this point, it's probably been in a year and a half. And again, it was an agent in my office who in our internal Facebook page says, I've got a deal that's a short sale and I don't know what to do with it, right? And I'm short sale certified. And she sent me the information and I talked to the client and they had equity. And I'm going, where in the world did she think that this was a short sale, right? So I went out and I met with the woman and, you know, she explained, I mean, if you let people talk, they will tell you everything. She poured her guts out to me and she said, this is my mom's property. I'm ready to walk away from it. It was in foreclosure. And I said, do you have the letter? Do you have the paperwork? She brought everything out. And I said, well, we don't have a sale date yet. And she's like, I'm just ready to walk away. Like, I'm ready to just move out and walk away. I said, but I can probably get you 10 grand, right? Why are you going to walk away even after paying commissions? And I had 6 weeks. I said, that's enough time for us to put it on the market. And I said to her, look, at the end of the day, you have nothing to lose, right? It's not going to cost you out of your pocket. I only get paid if we sell it. Let's try to do this. And we had, of course, the investors came in and lowballed us because it needed work. But then there was an agent that saw it. It was a condo in a community where they wanted to be. He and his girlfriend, fiance at the time, put it under contract. I had like 15 offers on this place, from super low to 20,000 above list price.
Mhm.
And in the end, we got it done. So not only did I make my commission, because it went above this price, I made my commission and I put 12 grand in their pocket.
Mhm.
And her biggest concern with that property was, I have to honor my mother's memory. I cannot have a foreclosure in her name. That's all she cared about.
Mhm.
So not only did I help her get through that hurdle, but we put 12 grand in their pocket to help them move into their next property. And if I hadn't known everything that I know and have been real estate and investing all of these years, I wouldn't have known how to help them.
Yes. Yeah. 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 I mean, as I said, I totally get it. You definitely, as I said, realtors have such an advantage.
Yes.
They really do. And they really need to take more advantage of it, but they just don't. And it's like, and I also, even with the Southland area, I had the entire Georgia list, and I was like, I would email them specifically and say, like, realtors need to become investors or understand what we do. Come to the Southland area. And like, some did, but hardly any ever do.
They don't get it. So yes, my book, which is right back there, is on Amazon. Go read it. It's 80 pages long. And I just cut to the chase. And that's how, we got our lake property. I have a small place on Lake Lanier, same thing. It was going to be a listing. And we had it as a subject to for 15 years. We finally just actually paid it off.
I love it. I love it. So we have a couple of questions here. I want to go and answer your questions. Okay, hang on. If there's a conflict of interest for realtors and investors, can you explain kind of like being a realtor and investor and how that works? You have to disclose this kind of thing.
So you have to disclose. So understand, all of these came to me by being a realtor, right? It wasn't, I tried to hide anything. They knew I was a realtor. So they knew up front, that I was an agent and I wasn't hiding anything. I am 100% transparent with everybody. I don't try to hide anything, even with the townhome in Smyrna. I could have put it on the market for her, right? She could have maybe made, I don't know, maybe 10 grand after commissions.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't care. She didn't want it. She didn't want to go through it. She didn't want to put her tenant through that. She knew full well what she was doing. So I think as long as you're upfront and you're transparent and people know that you're coming from a good place, right? There was another conversation in a Facebook group yesterday about some guy putting some house under contract for 30,000. I think the woman wanted 100,000, but it's worth 300,000 and she's a senior. And he's like, well, now the family's coming in. I'm like, if you know a property is worth 300,000 and the seller only wants 100, that's not what's best for them because they don't know the market or they're not aware, or in this case was a senior, there wasn't enough information. Do the right thing and pay them what's fair. Just do the right thing and you won't have to worry about it. No one will question your integrity.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Lynette's saying if you're always honest and transparent and have the seller's best interest in mind, you should be fine. Exactly. All right, good. Do we have any other questions? Let me see. Did I miss some questions? Okay, Jackie says she doesn't take a commission when she does her stuff. Let's see. Jackie, in the instance of keeping tenants in place, are realtors typically willing to source cash buyers willing to do this? What did you say to that? Let me see.
I don't understand I don't know that I understand the question.
Are there any questions for Lorraine? Because I think there's just like a lot of comments.
Yeah, if you guys want to open up, and so I will drop you can find me at Lorraine Beato, right? I'm Lorraine Beato on Instagram, Lorraine Beato on Facebook, I'm Lorraine Beato on LinkedIn. I will drop my email, which is lorrainebeato@gmail.com, and my website. is LorraineBeato.com.
Yeah,
So
put
I'm
it in the
easy.
chat. And then what tools do you use to find appreciating areas is what Lynette is asking.
I get in the car and I go drive around, and that's the other thing, right? And this applies to anybody who's an investor. Get in the car, because if you're in a hot market like we are in Metro Atlanta, if a deal comes across your desk, you need to know if that's a good deal or not, because no one's going to wait for you to go drive out there, go look at it. You need to be able to pull the trigger immediately. And, I'm looking at another area right now. So I'll give you an example. I have a client who wanted acreage and found a house, found a HUD home in Bowersville, Georgia. I had no idea where in the world Bowersville, Georgia was, had no clue. So I never saw it. She's like, here, just put in the offer. Let's do this. We did it. I took a drive with her, and it's up on the South Carolina border. It's not too far from Lake Hartwell. And she told me there's a lot of manufacturing coming up this way. It's on the 85 corridor. And so I started doing some digging, and I am looking at that market very closely, because yes, there's a lot of new manufacturing jobs that have just come up there in the last year, and companies, and I think it's going to grow. Plus, it's on the border of actually South Carolina. Is that South Carolina? Or I never remember. It's up by Lake Hartwell.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know. I was looking at a storage facility in Lake Hartwell, and like my husband Pete drove up there, and he was just like, "No, we're not buying this one because it was just too country or whatever." I'm not sure, but I'm like that area because it's like Gainesville going up.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that area.
And they got federal grants to bring in businesses, and somebody I've never heard of it. Yeah, it's funny because my broker had never heard of that town either. She's like, I lived in Georgia all my life. I've never heard of Bowersville. It's right next to Livonia. So I've now been out there because one of the things that I'm learning more about is land. And I have a builder partner that had asked to partner with me last year. So we're trying to find some land. And I have a developer out of California that will fund us. So land and development is something that I'm exploring and learning as much as possible as I can right now.
Yeah, we do land. So good. So you're at the point of the point of Lorraine's I guess Lorraine's presentation is number one. If you're a realtor, you should be investing in real estate, number one, or you should really truly understand how investors work so that you can help them. See, my realtor, I've had the same realtor for 10 years. And he's made a lot of money off of me. But you know what? And the thing is my realtor, he works only with investors. But guess what? He's never, ever buy his own properties or anything. All he does is he's a realtor to investors. Can you imagine?
That's crazy.
He's been doing it for like 30 years.
Well, that's like me. And so when I did a guru program, we spent the 30 grand. Okay, I'll say it. We did the guru program. And I started seeing, like, I kind of, because I was always posting in the Facebook group, because I have an extensive background. I was an appraiser. I was a loan officer for 2 years. I have an extensive background in real estate. So understand, this is compiled over 30 years. This didn't happen overnight. I kind of became the point person in Atlanta for this guru, right? And so out-of-state investors became my niche. So I helped them find the property, I managed the renovation, and then I put the property on the market for them. So back in 15, I created almost an extra $3 million in listings for myself by helping out-of-state investors. And we started investing in 2013 because I'm like, oh, they just made this and they just made that. And I had been at the courthouse steps. I'm like, why can't we do this, right? And then that's also when I learned about hard money. I had not heard about hard money and didn't understand it, but there is power in hard money, and don't get hung up on the interest rate. Your intention is to be in and out as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, I think you definitely gave some good advice. Christy says, do you have a separate marketing to get seller leads as an investor versus marketing as a realtor for your listings? What kind of marketing do you do? Or is it, you said it's mostly referrals?
It's mostly referrals. I mean, I'm not the realtor that does 50 or 100 deals a year. That was never what I wanted to do. Although COVID taught me I need to build a team. So I may shift and work on that. I don't have separate marketing, and even my marketing in my regular real estate business, it's all word of mouth. It's 100% referral based. I've never fed the Zillow beast. Glad I didn't. It's networking within Facebook groups. It's speaking at events. it's building my contacts. I've also started building LinkedIn is something I've not focused on, and I've made some great contacts in LinkedIn. I just attended an event 2 weeks ago that's up in the Charlotte, Raleigh-Durham market, right?
Mhm.
And collaborated with them. And no, I never really marketed. It's always been word of mouth.
Well,
Now,
you're the type of person that goes to networking events.
yes,
That's just
yes,
that's how you
100%.
do it.
That's who I am.
That's who you are, right? So there's some people that are like, I need to automate this in the back office, and she's like, because I see you all the time. You're at networking events.
Yeah, and and I suck at systems, so
So
don't ask me about
what
systems because
happened during COVID? What did you do during COVID when there was no networking events?
well, so I run REN, right, the Women's Real Estate Network in Atlanta, and we went virtual, and so now I want to get back to meeting in person. I'm chomping at the bit to be meeting in person, and now we have Mercedes came on board and Tamar, but we've been doing a joint virtual meeting once a month where there's women across the country. So I'm networking online because we're talking in the chat, we're sending each other private messages. And it's all about just building your network. And that's just something I'm really good at because I love people. And that's just my forte. Now, ask me to go automate and do like follow-up emails and all that. Forget it. I'm not that person.
That's what I was saying. Like, how did you pivot? Because I know you're a networking person. So,
and so I pivoted to online, to just online meetings and being really active in Facebook groups and, answering questions, being of service. That's my biggest thing.
yeah. Cool. I love it. Awesome. Well, definitely thank you for hanging out with us. Does anybody have any other questions? Let me see. Christy says, do you reflect your realtor status on your investor marketing?
I don't, because I don't do investor marketing, but I would, because you would need to disclose that. So depending on what state you're in, right, understand your local guidelines, because if I were to do a mailer, right, if I were to solicit like wholesalers and their vacant home list and all that, as a licensed agent and a realtor, I would have to disclose my name, the brokerage firm, and the phone number to the brokerage firm. So just understand what the rules and regulations are in your state. And again, that's why I have a wholesale partner. He does that. That's his niche. And we joint venture and collaborate on things.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good way to go though, because like all you're doing is just partner with people. And then a lot of people do that. They just partner,
Right.
like just partner with other people. Like, this is what I'm good at. This is what I focus on, and I'll partner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I know my niche.
And some people are like, no, I'm vertically integrated. I want to do it. I'm totally vertically integrated. We do everything, so it's just whatever your personality is. So it's good. And then she also had one more question. Do you have a separate business name for each, or do you just do everything? How do you do that?
So I do. So I have my realtor stuff is Atlanta's Residences. That's what it is. That's what it's been. I have an LLC for my consulting because I do one-on-one calls with agents that have asked me to. And I did tell my broker, I said, hey, just so you know, because again, that's who I am. I said, I'm just letting you know, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be consulting and has nothing to do with the brokerage. It's a consulting fee. And then any of the wholesaling or the investments that we do, we actually run through my husband's. My husband has an LLC, and we run most of the investing through that. And I'm not on it, but we've been married for 30 years. He's not going anywhere. And for me, it just keeps it clean. I like things clean and uncomplicated.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Awesome. Okay, good. Awesome. Great information. Oh, wait, we have another question. I'm a fixer, flipper, cash buyer who wants to partner with realtors like you. What are your recommended strategies for forming these partnerships? Great question.
Sure, they know this stuff. Just I would talk to them, ask them, have you fixed and flipped? Have you done any of your own investments? I mean, just vet them. There's not that many out there. I mean, I hate to say that, which is why I'm on this movement, right? To get agents to flip the switch, to get them to just understand, but there aren't a whole lot of them out there. But I would definitely talk to them. Have they done projects? Have they done with investors? But I find that if they've done projects themselves, they're generally the better fit because they know exactly what you're looking for. You don't have to sit there and teach them what 65% of ARV or 70% of ARV, and they know how to spot what fits your buy box and what's your criteria. So just keep digging. And if they're attending the RIAs, even though they're virtual now, and Stacy's got a wonderful platform. Again, thank you. I'm so honored to be here. Just you'll have to do some digging, but they're out there. And if I can help, of course.
Maybe you can, I think a good training webinar, like a monthly training webinar for REI USA, because you've just made me think about this, is literally like realtors that want to work with investors or become investors, and like a monthly training session on that. So let me know if you're interested in teaching that.
Yeah, that was on the 2020 to-do list. It didn't manifest because, like I said, I had to pivot back into selling. So, it messed a lot of people up. But yes, that is something that I would love to do.
Yeah, that's what I said, because I mean, there's a lot of people out there, and then people that are not realtors could come in and meet the realtors too. And Colleen, also, as I said, there's a lot of realtors that are members. So post out, like in the Facebook group, like post out who is a realtor, because the realtors that are members of this group, they're just like Lorraine. They're either not like, they're like want to be like her, or they're like, yes, because there are realtors that come to these meetings, but you have to search them out. So I would highly recommend going to the state groups that you're interested in and seeing who those realtors are, or I'm saying post it out in the private Facebook group as well. Who is a realtor in here that's also an investor or wannabe investor or wants to work with investors, which I think.
So I want to respond to two about starting with the brokers. I'm sorry, that's an excuse. If you're saying your broker's holding you back, that's an excuse. My broker's not held me back, but again, my broker knows what I do. He's actually referred investors to me. Look, I was at a big box. I was at Keller Williams. They knew I worked with investors back then. Where I'm going to now.
Williams?
They don't care.
No, they don't care.
I don't think they care. And then I thought,
does care. I mean, if your broker does care, find a new
broker. Yeah,
that's it.
I thought
Palmer House, Keller Williams, they'll do.
Yeah, and I'm about to go to EXP just because I've had an interesting proposition. So I thought investor realtors would keep the deals, especially the subject twos. It depends. I mean, I don't want every subject to. If it's an hour and a half for me and I can't go check on the rental, or I don't have a team over there, it really depends. I mean, there was another subject too that I looked at, but they were so far behind on their mortgage, they owed like 23 grand. Well, 23 grand wasn't something I could do to catch them up, and bring them up. So I put them in touch with another investor. So it depends, because at the end of the day, I want to keep my investor clients happy as well. And their buy box is not necessarily my buy box.
And if you can't solve their problem, find somebody that can solve it.
Who can. Exactly.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, good. I think we got them all. You did a great job. I appreciate you coming hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. I think you just got, you definitely got me thinking. How can I, because there is a need for this. There's a need for this. And so I think REI USA can help.
Yeah. And no, subject twos are not illegal. You do run the risk of the due on sale clause. And I think someone speaking or spoke on subject two deals, just as long as they know what's happening, just explain to the mortgage holder or the client how this is going to work, and that it's going to stay on their credit until you refi. Now, the plan is not to have a subject to for 15 years like I did, right? But I actually improved her credit. The payments got done, and it worked. We just paid it off. So now she's got to pay off mortgage on her credit.
I love it. Awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And Lorraine,
for having me.
Lorraine is in the private Facebook group. So if you want to talk to her more, go into the private Facebook group. You'll find her there. You can post out, tag her, whatever you need to do. Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us today.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.